and our fiddle player does this, and our drummer keeps the line tight, and our bass player plays the low note. It was almost like they were narrating what they were doing in the moment.
Yes, we've finally done a dream sequence. No, just to let you know that we did the reaction to this, had a great discussion. I did all the editing, we put it up ready to go, and it was blocked worldwide. Thanks, Universal Music. So I found another link to an earlier sort of early take of the song, which Andy has now reacted to, and that's what you'll see. So just to let you know, if you see any discrepancy in the discussion with what you heard of the song, that's the reason why, the backing vocals, etc. It's still a great song, and it gives you an idea. And I will put a link into the original song in the description below. So enjoy, and let's get back to normal service. Thanks. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. And it's a Friday, so you know what that means. But first, a boy is born in Hard Time, Mississippi, surrounded by four walls that ain't so pretty. His parents give him love and affection to keep him strong, moving in the right direction. Won't be any more on that later because we've got a song to listen to, suggested by one of our lovely viewers. Sorry, Stevie. And we have, he's very understanding.
Sounds good.
So we have a song which has been suggested to us by David Rogers. David Rogers 3875 to be precise, which is his serial number. If you turn him upside down, you'll see it on the bottom printed. And he has David has suggested in a comment on previous episodes, Poor Man's Poison, Hell's Coming With Me. Remember that Clint Eastwood epic? He suggested Fairport Convention, which is a whole can of worms over in this country. And the song Come All Ye. Now, I do know this song. I don't really know Fairport Convention at all, but I'd have this song. So Andy is the lucky puppy who's going to go away and listen to this. And I think we've already decided that you don't know Fairport Convention or Come All Ye, do you?
Nope, I do not.
So
the tails are wagging.
Yes, yes. And your wet nose. So it reminds me, I've got to worm you later. So you go away.
I think I will on that note.
Yeah. And come back and tell us all what you think. And then we'll discuss it, and I'll fill in all the gaps.
All right, will do.
Come all you roaming
Yeah, I'm really liking this sort of rootsy, almost bluegrassy, classic country kind of sound to this. Um, it's interesting though because all the instruments sound like that to me, but her vocals, albeit great, she's got a really nice voice. It sounds great with this. It lacks that twang that you get from bluegrass and classic country. So I'm kind of like intrigued by their sound and wondering sort of like where they're from and what they would classify this, because she sounds more like just a classic like folk singer, and this music has more of a I don't know, to me anyway, to my American ears, sounds a bit more like bluegrass or classic country. Regardless of that, it sounds great. I'm really loving the guitar, how the acoustic kind of comes in. It sounds like we have some electric, or I think electric guitar that's assisting in there as well, and some fiddle bouncing around. Yeah, this is good stuff.
Together we will try to rouse the spirit of the air and move the rolling sky. Our fiddler, he just loves to play, and that's why he plays so good. And now he plays a violin made of solid wood. So come all you rolling minstrels, and together we will try to rouse the spirit of the air and move the rolling sky. Possessor of a magic touch, but no magician will play for you some magic notes instead, as you will see. So come all you rolling minstrels, and together we will try to rouse the spirit of the air.
I gotta say, for a pretty basic song that's kind of, circular movement, it keeps kind of, rolling with the same rhythm setup here and everything in chords. The rhythm section, the drums and the bass are doing a really good job of just keeping everything nice and tight, and they sound really great together. They're not doing anything crazy or outside the box, but they're in their pocket, and it's really giving the song the movement that it needs. I'm loving the violin that's peppered in there too. It's great, great stuff. And this is like some songs we tackle are really dark or have all this like double meaning and stuff like that, and we're looking for symbolism. And this is just a lovely, almost like call to arms or call to instruments, or really to music lovers and musicians to come together and sort of play and revel in music. I think that's kind of what I'm getting, as she's going through this laundry list of individuals featured on the song and instruments used. It's fun, there's some charm to it, and it's easy listening for me.
And move the rolling sky. Sound of beating on the drum from behind you, and to the rhythm of guitar
do love the shuffling drums. They're great. It's just a lot of fun.
minstrels, and together we will try to rouse the spirit of the air and move the rolling sky.
Yeah, what a fun little song and performance. It's a charming song. It's again it has this rootsy, for me, country-ish kind of sound to it, and I just really enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to hear what John has to say about these guys. This looks like quite the dated photo here in the thumbnail, so I'm sure there's plenty of information he can provide. Let's see if he did his homework, because I am jonesing to learn more about these guys.
So you're back
Yes,
from the convention.
that very one from Fairport.
What do you think?
Yeah, this was really interesting to me. It I'm kind of putting two and two together right now, because like I didn't know if you were being sarcastic, but when you said something about like relating them to your country, and I was listening to it, and I was waiting for this voice that's really pretty, like to have the twang that matches the rest of it. Like it was airy, it was nice, it fit the music, but it was lacking this, like, I don't know, almost that bluegrass has this like heartache sound to it, and the twang coupled with all of that really resonates when you listen to it. And I wasn't hearing it. I was like, it sounds great, but this doesn't sound like it's of the area indigenous where this music is indigenous to. You know what I mean? Like the source of this. So it was really interesting. So now I'm thinking, oh shit, are they? This is an. I'm assuming this is an English band.
This is English music, very
Okay,
centuries
that
old.
explains the. Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, very true to the sound of sort of Appalachian classic country bluegrassy kind of music. I'd say maybe I would say it was a little folksy, but that might be because of the woman's voice had less of the, you know what I mean? Like it didn't hit me, like she didn't sound like a Southern bluegrass singer, but the music did, and her voice sounded a bit more folksy, which was really good, and I liked it a lot. There's also some great group vocals as well, provided by, I assume, the band, but it was interesting to hear. So oftentimes in rock and roll, especially like blues-based classic rock and roll, you have the male frontman, and you have a group of 3 to 5, typically African American female backing singers, or black female singers in the background if they're not African American, and they add that richness and soul behind. And this was almost the other way around, where you had this really beautiful feminine voice that had this group vocals provided by what sounded like a group of guys. So that was kind of an interesting juxtaposition as well, from what I guess we find to be the normative, or what is the normative for me and what I've listened to a lot. But yeah, the tune starts off with, like, again, that classic bluegrassy, classic country acoustic guitar strumming, and then it's accompanied by this chugging little foot stomping beat, which is perfect for this kind of music, and some really terrific fiddle work, which plays between like these extended bow strokes at times, but then also there's peppered in this more of the staccato-y, whiny, waily kind of true fiddle sound you're used to hearing in this genre of music. I also think at one point I'm hearing other stringed instruments in this song. Perhaps, like, I don't know if it's like a mandolin or a dulcimer, or if even like an electric guitar might accompany that acoustic guitar at some point. But it's something akin to those aforementioned instruments. And all I know is that for certain is that it's adding depth to the music, which is needed outside of just an acoustic guitar and a fiddle. So I really liked how that all kind of came together. And again, I will say that the group vocals, although I was interested in the sort of gender dynamics in that, it is a classic trope of this genre of music to have that backing group, almost echo what you're saying at points. You know what I mean? You'll hear that in a lot of Appalachian bluegrass music. Um, and the almost scratching drag of the bow across the fiddle strings at times give this song some like edgy accents that really help provide a little bit of diversity to the tune, because outside of that, it's very, like, as you've said before, I think you've used the term circular, or it's like there's not a lot of divergence in the music here, right? But what is almost this fiddle playing like what, like, I don't know if you listen to a BB King song and he sings like, a verse and then, or like a stanza of a verse, and then at the end there's this little accented lead guitar work, bluesy shit. That's kind of what the fiddle's doing at the end of each one of her stanzas or lines, right? It's sort of at points adding that little flourish, if you will, and I really really enjoyed that a lot too. It kind of made me smile. And also, these guys didn't stand out as like, whoa, the like, look at how crazy they are, look at all this different shit they're doing. But the rhythm section had this like really cohesive, precise sound to it. Like, it was the drum like paradiddles on the hi-hats at the end of each verse or whatever, carrying the song. Perfect, well timed, nothing crazy, but it kind of held everything together. It was a good glue to kind of keep all the pieces stuck together. And as far as like what the song's about, and this is also funny, it just makes me laugh because I've heard some people describe like country music or this kind of music as whatever those musicians are doing right now, as sort of can be the lyrical content of the song. And it just sounds like, and our fiddle player does this, and our drummer keeps the line tight, and our bass player plays the low note. It was almost like they were narrating what they were doing in the moment, or as if it were like a rallying cry to musicians to come together and play music or something like that. I don't know. It just kind of made me laugh that there was kind of like a laundry list of the shit that was happening right now, instrument to instrument. So that kind of made me laugh. But yeah, this is a good song. And as you say, this is English. I think it's a pretty true to original sound depiction of this genre of music. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Cool. I'll get into it, but just before, I would say from the off that neither yourself or me are particular aficionados of this type of music. And what's really interesting in these reactions, especially the viewers' request ones, where neither of us, have particularly any sort of skin in the game in terms of the song, that we come to it, with a filter to it. We come and look at it for our own filter. It would be interesting that you would go straight to sort of bluegrass and Appalachian music, which this music was around a long time before anyone was even living there. And what you can see from your comments is how bluegrass and Appalachian music developed from European
of course. And we all know that it was inspired by sort of like, I guess, Scottish and English folk music that came over here, and we put our own bend on it.
And then exactly, because that's what happens over time,
And
it's just really interesting. And not being a huge sort of folk aficionado, but this is the cornerstone of modern British folk music. It really is a big thing. The band itself, there's a lot of history. There's a lot about it. I'm just going to go through it as best I can without making this into an hour and a half episode. So fans of Fairport Convention, please forgive me. Drop comments about what I missed out, which is huge amounts. I do know this. I am aware from the research, but I've already got a shitload to get through. So, apologies straight away. So, Fairport Convention, they were formed in 1967, and they started out, a lot of the folk music back then was very heavily influenced by American music. So they started out doing Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell covers. After their eponymous 1968 debut album, Sandy Denny, the lead female vocalist, joined, and she sort of they were pushed towards a more traditional British music for the next two albums that were released in 1969, which was What We Did on Our Holidays and Unhalf Bricking. And one track on that Unhalf Bricking, in particular, Sailor's Life, kind of laid the groundwork for British folk rock, as it's called, being the first time ever that a traditional British folk song was combined with a rock beat. That's the first time it's happened. So shortly before the release of Unhalf Bricking, there was a crash on the M1 motorway in our country, which killed the drummer that then Lambill and Ginny Franklin, who was the guitarist's girlfriend at the time. And this led to a major change in the band, both in direction as well as personnel. So Dave Mattox joined as a replacement drummer, and fiddle and mandolin player Dave Swarbrick also joined full time, having appeared on that album in bits and pieces. So this track is from their fourth album, Liege and Leaf, which is an old English words which mean loyalty and ready. And it was released in December 1969. So it was their third album they released in that year, which is something. You don't see that anymore. So personnel: Sandy Denny, vocals; Dave Swarbrick, fiddle, viola; Richard Thompson, electric and acoustic guitars, backing vocals; Simon Nicol, electric 6-string and 12-string acoustic guitars and backing vocals; Ashley Hutchins, bass guitar, backing vocals; and Dave Mattox, drums, percussion. So what happened is the band got together and rehearsed the whole album over the summer in a country house where they all stayed near Winchester. Instead of the Dylan covers, they focus on electrified arrangements of traditional English folk songs and also some original compositions. This is one of them. Richard Thompson, the guitarist, said, "Nothing resonates like an old song. To sing something beautifully written and then refined over hundreds of years that still has meaning and urgency, that still creates vivid pictures in the mind, is a deeply rewarding thing. We hope the band would achieve some mainstream popularity so that we could bring the tradition a little closer to people's lives." And you kind of get that in this song. It's also coming together of calling people in. But I think you're right in terms of this song, and the lyrics are there's a sort of rousingness to it, but it's also, and we come together and we sit on, haystacks, and we play music in the fields, whether it be in the fields of Surrey or in the mountains of the Appalachians. It's the same kind of idea, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll just go through the lyrics and then a bit more. So, "Come, all ye rolling minstrels, and together we will try to rouse the spirit of the earth and move the rolling sky. Those that dance will start to dance, and those that don't will stay. In time to list our merry tune that we play for you today." It's very got that old feel to even the style of narration. It's quite interesting. So, "Come, all you rolling minstrels, and together we will try to rouse the spirit of the earth and move the rolling sky." Our fiddler, he just loves to play, and that's why he plays so good. And now he plays a violin made out of solid wood. Again, the chorus said, "Come all ye, blah, blah, blah." "Possessor of the magic touch, and no magician he, will play for you some magic notes instead, as you will see. So come all ye, blah, blah, blah. Sound of beating on the drum, song behind you'll hear, and to the rhythm of guitar, we hope you'll lend an ear. So come, come, come. Well, the man who plays the bass does make those low notes that you hear. And the high notes come from you and me, for we will sing so clear. So come all you rolling minstrels, and together we will try to rouse the spirit of the earth and move the rolling sky." I will say, I think it's a lovely song, and it has a sort of nice togetherness feel about it as well.
Yeah.
You could imagine in a group setting, listening to this or singing along to it. It has that lovely inclusive feel. So even before the album was released in November, the month preceding, both Denny and Hutchison quit the band. Hutchinson went off and became part of a Steel Eye Span, which is even more sort of traditional English folk. And Denny went on to form her own project called Fotheringay. Legion Leaf was produced by Joe Boyd, whose name's come up a lot. I will say Nick Drake, Pink Floyd, REM. You can leave it at that. That's good enough. And when it came out, John Peel promoted it on his radio program as well. So these are all the familiar names coming through. The album spent 15 weeks in the UK album charts, reaching number 17. It is often credited as the first major British folk rock album. It was a major influence in establishing a new style commercially and artistically as a distinct genre. It was voted the most important folk album of all time by BBC Radio 2 listeners in 2002. And at the BBC Radio 2 Folk Awards in 2006, the album was voted the most influential folk album of all time. In June 2007, Mojo magazine listed Leaf and Leaf at number 58 in its list of 100 records that changed the world. So, really sort of big deal, particularly within that genre in those circles. For Denny, Fothering Gay was pretty short-lived. She then went on to become solo artist, and she produced 4 albums. She also, which is very dear to my heart, duetted with Robert Plant. And I believe she's the only other vocalist that appeared. I could be wrong, but I think she's the only guest vocalist that ever appeared on a Led Zeppelin record, and she was on Battle of Evermore on Led Zeppelin 4. Denny actually died in 1978 at the age of 31 from head injuries after sustained as a result of a fall down a flight of stairs. Just such a bizarre way to go,
Yeah, and there was no foul play involved. Like it was just
No.
an accident.
No. Yeah. Music publications Uncut and Mojo magazine have described Denny as Britain's finest female singer-songwriter. And in January 2023, Denny was ranked 164 on Rolling Stone's list of 200 greatest singers of all time. So
Oh,
you make
wow.
that list is like pretty.
Yeah.
So after the following album, 1970s Full House, Richard Thompson left for other projects, including 6 albums as a duo with his wife Judy, and then his own solo career. He has released 18 studio solo albums, 3 of which have been nominated for Grammy Awards. He is considered a virtuoso guitar player and has won an Ivor Novello Award and has been awarded an OBE. His 1991 song, 1952 Vincent Black Lightning, was included in Time magazine's all-time 100 songs list of the best English language musical compositions. He's a really big deal on the folk circuit, and even I know about him. And I heard his version. He does an acoustic cover of Oops, I Did It Again by Madam Spears, and it's quite something. So back to the band. 1970s saw numerous lineup changes in and out, and I think there's only 1 or 2 that still sort of remain. And to be fair, folk music kind of fell out of fashion with mainstream listening, and the band disbanded in 1979. They reformed in 1983, and they're still active to this day.
Wow.
And they have released 29 albums and do retain a very strong and loyal following. So that's Fairport Convention. I learned a bit today. I hope you did as well.
Yeah. No, that's how through the period of when they started and now while they're still going, did the fervor or interest wrapped around this genre kind of ebb and flow? Were they always like pioneers in trying to keep it in the forefront? And
I think they would have been one of the they would have been one of the biggest names. I mean, I think in the 80s you probably couldn't get arrested as a folk musician. It was really just wasn't even on the radar.
Yeah.
But like these things come and go, don't they? So there's definitely been a resurgence in folk music, I'd say, in the last 15 years, 20 years. Some of it was that new folk movement that we spoke about in other episodes through modern bands. Then people kick back to, what started all this? And then that resurges as well. I mean, you've had different genres coming through. I mean, I would say you would never have heard any country music created by people in this country. But that's really had a massive resurgence in the last 20 years as well. So these things do come and go. But I think, if you're going to talk about punk, you're going to talk about the Clash and the Pistols. You know, if you're going to talk about English folk rock or whatever you want to call it, you're going to talk about Fairport Convention. It's just, you
Mhm.
know, and pop music, you Beatles. You know, it's one of those cornerstones of that genre.
I know, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but for some reason, talking about this band and what they did as far as tapping into um a sound that from so long ago, like this sort of folk
Yeah,
sound. It's almost like a piece of your culture, your extended
yeah,
culture, your historical culture. Is there any? And I know Ireland is not England, but is that not where the chieftains often reminded talking about these reminded me of the chieftains, because I feel like the chieftains would do this combo of sort of folksy Irish music and combine that sort of sound with more modern rock sound of their time, right? Is that a false equivalence that I'm making, saying that there's correlatives between what this band has done and kind of what I thought the chieftains were kind of known for as well?
yeah. I would say you're pretty much spot on there. I think the one issue is that out of the well, I'm sorry to do this, but I will lump Ireland together, even though it's obviously two. You know,
Yeah,
Ireland as
I
a
want
republic.
to. Yeah, we totally understand the politics and the
Irish.
geography.
Yeah. Out of the four nations within the UK, England is probably the worst at celebrating its own culture. The Scots, the Welsh, the Irish, and the other Irish all have a real strong sense of their cultural identity,
Yeah,
and the British isn't so much. So you have things like Morris dancing, which is kind of mocked, you know, and looked at as weird and quaint. Whereas in Ireland, and now anywhere around the bloody world, you walk into an Irish pub and you will hear Irish music being
yeah,
sung and sung by people in the pub, not just people employed to sing it. You would not get that in England.
yeah,
You would get, you know, oi oi Savaloy, few choruses of Vindaloo, and it's down to the kebab house. It's not really the same.
yeah,
So I think what they managed to do, and given those sort of circumstances, is really remarkable. You know, because
yeah,
it just
yeah, for sure. And I mean, they're really taking a risk doing that because
yeah,
they know that there's not going to be this warm embrace that some of the like a chieftains might get from the folks of Ireland, because
yeah,
they pine for that, right? Yeah,
exactly,
it's interesting.
exactly. Yeah, it is.
Interesting stuff.
It's just, you know, and I'm not trying to assign any sort of blame's the wrong word, but do you know what I mean? It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
And that's it. And you ain't going to change people, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Cool.
I think that's been one of our good and bad points, is in terms of the English are kind of, you know, strong armed the rest of the other three nations, and have led the way in so many things. And we were very good at one point of going around and um, planting our flags on places and taking away bits of their culture, and but also absorbing it back in. So again, you have a good a melting pot in this country,
Yeah,
and you also have a bad aspect of it as well, and that's the conundrum.
yeah,
But so you know, our heritage, as it were, people are always trying to bring it up, and it's such a mixture that's just so interesting. I just as an aside, really quickly, our plan sort of 15 years ago, which has changed, was to move to France where my parents are living. And, you know, we had a 5/10 year plan, which is probably now a 20-year plan. I don't tell the missus that, she still thinks it's 5 years. So I decided if we're going to leave this country, that I wanted to experience as much quirky Englishness as possible. So I brought up a list, and I did call it Jexit at the time, John's Brexit, of weird English traditions and customs that I wanted to observe and witness. So I went to the cheese rolling in Gloucester. I went to the World Black Pudding throwing competition. I went to the World Egg throwing competition. I've been to a few of these things. There's a few more I still want to see.
mm,
I went and visited the shark in on Oxford, where a guy had stuck a shark and it looked like it'd been dropped through his roof. He made this also, so I'm still got a list. I'm still doing it, but I love all that weird, quirky shit. So
yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Excellent,
It's a little
excellent.
insight into my yeah. Right. I think what we'll do now is we will thank David so much for bringing this up. Again, it's something that probably neither one of us, I mean, the closest is like, you know, any sort of thing like this would have been Dylan or Drake, you know, Liz Cleddy's and that. So it's really good to have something like this on the channel, and I think the song's a delight as well. It's a really good song. So thanks so much, David, for bringing it up. Thanks for listening and your thoughts, Andy. Thanks, folks out there, for struggling all the way through to this point. And of course, this is where we reveal all the secret codes for all the people who haven't watched so far. There you go. If you like this, hit the like button. Do drop some comments and let us know what you think of this Fairport Convention, the wonderful and yet sad times of Sandy Denny and Richard Thompson's amazing career. But we'd love to hear from you and all sort of nuggets of information, because we clearly don't know nearly enough about this thing called music. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and help us build this channel like a raft building competition between two rival teams, but we don't really know who our rivals are, so that's a really bad analogy. But just say we have to do it because there's an ice cream van on the other side of the river. If that helps you. So yeah, please do subscribe. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you guys.